All right, time for that Elixir called Love 4. By Ramtha, 2003. What does it mean to be a woman? A womb man. Let's find out, shall we? Now tonight I want you to know that these women's emotional bodies are set and geared biologically and genetically, which we are talking about the DNA or gender here. They are geared for that which is termed survival. And children have always been a part of their survival. And if it has not been children, it has been the pleasure of sexuality. But most women have their greatest comfort sexually when they know that they have owned their man. I want you to understand it is a truth. And though they may gain pleasure from it, they work and labor specifically in which to become everything so sexually that they who labor so much, if you say to them, "Why do you work so hard on being beautiful? Why do you work so hard on being thin? Why do you work so hard on being a hetera? Why?" And the answer is, quote, "To keep my man happy." An enlightened being would look at that and say, if you have to live your life for the momentary pleasure of a man, you are already dead. You are already dead. If you're having to live to capture a certain individual, that means you are dying to your enlightenment for the sake of the comfort of a person who is not equal to you. The day that women recognize that their equality is in God and not in men is the day they get to share the journey of men who also see that their equality is in God and not in women on the journey back home. So be it. Before I forget, I just remembered that I forgot to mention in the first part when I was talking about the show, Russian Doll, new series on Netflix I've been watching per recommendation of Eric here at Whole Foods. Well, guess how old the main character is? I'd mentioned the CRS reference, the game Michael Douglas. She says, "I'm Michael Douglas." The game from 1997. Well, she's 36 years of age, having this experience of continually dying and coming back to the same point of her birthday, her 36th birthday. 3 sixes, 360, 360, 369, the feminine, Libra, right? Sunset at 9 o'clock, the night, even, Eve, Libra, balance, equilibra, Om. Xbox 360. Ego equals 27 in English Gematria, anagrammatic with Geo, which is from Gaia. E is 5, G is 7, O is 15. 5 plus 7 is 12, plus 15 is 27. 2 and 7, 9. 369. 927. And if you let's get back to this now. We're on page 50, that Elixir called Love by Ramtha. The chapter is titled, How Do You Make Love to a Woman? So be it. And if you have to gear down to someone, and you have to deny to someone, and you have to pretend to be something other than what you really are, that is not evolutionary. You are going to die, and you will be born again in this body with the same curse every 21 days until you realize what you are really here to be. Now, what does it mean to be a woman? It means that God is closer to being realized because the womb of creation sits right below the fourth seal. and that in realization we must make a decision. Decision, incision, excision. Are we going to then live our life as women, prone to our moods and indeed our bodies? Are we going to live our life prone to the necessity of having someone make us feel great? Or do we live our life first and foremost that we are God in a woman's body and delight in being the woman, delight in being beautiful, delight in being old, delight in having wisdom, delight in having our bodies, or delight in our bodies. And in that we are virtuous because then we are real. When we do that, then we are nearer to God. And we say then that this will eliminate 99.9% of the world's men from our life. Then so be it. Quote, I can walk this life alone and become nearer to my God, unquote. Alone, all one. This is the way it is. Or to that which is termed a wonderful happiness, we find an opposite gender, a man who has thought the same, who shares our life, and to eliminate them because of our prejudice is as much a backward manifestation as the one that we have struggled to come up from. Now I have men and women here who are really gods, the forgotten gods. This body is a garment. Its emotions controlled you. That is why you came to school. You are here not to be better men and women, but to finally be God, the most important thing. That is what a master is all about. A master has to be beautiful to no one but God. And it is not what we look like, but how we are morally. Our thoughts, our observer. If our observer can see the fallacy of our humanity, the day our observer sees itself is the day we have arrived at Godhood. In other words, the day that our observer sees life without the positive or the negative is the day that our God has become our self. That is the beginning of our Christhood. Women cannot live their life for the sake of being a woman. And the day that their common thought becomes that of God instead of their feminine gender, in other words, the day that the observer observes the observer, is the day that we have immortal life. For women, that is closer than for men. That is the reason why there are so many crossovers in the world, so many men in prior lives that have become women. Because a woman is the path that is closest to redemption. 'Tis a truth. And men have the longest, hardest journey of the two, because their whole image is connected to their penis. Every part of their physical maturity is connected to their penis. Penis anagrammatic with spine. P-E-N-I-S, S-P-I-N-E. As in the what? Look at that word. Pencil. Pencil. Remember the insult? Pencil dick. Wood. Got wood? Every part of their physical maturity is connected to their penis. Men have a hard time every day getting up and going through the day without ejaculation. Women don't have a problem. The day that the man no longer is connected to his penis, but is connected to his fourth seal, and works arduously to be that, and can still consider himself a god, not a man, is the day that he is nearer to God and he is on the equal precipice with women. Sexual revolution and freedom. Now, there has certainly been in the 20th century a revolution for women's liberation. And women's liberation gave them the permission to have multiple lovers and not feel guilty about it, and gave them the permission to have passion without the responsibility of children. And this then was dreamed into reality, for you to love many men and have no children as you wished. To know what it was to be a man in previous lifetimes who had that ability to do that, a man who can love a woman and walk away from the fruit of her womb and from her. You have gotten in this century the opportunity to do that. That is not by accident. That was created. So with birth control came, as it were, your liberation to a greater point of degree, to where you got to live your passionate life and explore it without responsibility. That is not a bad thing. That is an evolutionary evolvement of Eve. Everywhere, everyone, everything, evening. Now, most of you who got to see that have come to the shallow point that, as you were on an equal standard of men and women, got to understand that there is an emptiness and hollowness about that which is termed sexuality. And if you did, it is those of you who came to this school who said, I have had the liberation to be all of these things, but I am garnered to yet a higher degree of understanding. That higher degree of understanding says that I obviously chose this life, and I obviously had the ability to choose this life to exercise my discretion in childbearing. Perhaps in this life I had the ability, and I earned the ability, to explore those forbidden areas. That, save for only hetera, who knew the science of cycles in women, did not have to have children, I can finally learn and explore those regions. Regions, regal, royal, ruler, 12. Now that I have explored them, I have found that which is termed, it is empty to lie with a man who loves me only for my body and is yet concerned not for my deeper thoughts, and yet it is my deeper thoughts that govern me and guide me throughout this life.
It is 9:54 a.m. and you are listening to WHRB Cambridge 95.3 FM. We just listened to a few tracks off of Pat Metheny Group's Off Ramp, including Olay and Are You Going With Me? To start off the next hour, we will be listening to Land of Giants with McCoy Tyner, Bobby Hutcherson, Charnay Moffat, and Eric Harland.
You got through your emotional body the freedom of sexual freedom without responsibility. When do you say then, I know what that is? I know what it is to lie with a man without the responsibility of the man, and indeed without the responsibility of his children. When do you have enough that you can say, when is it then I can lie with God and have the responsibility of God? When then can I finally see this is so empty, and here I am in the place that I have geared down forever and ever and ever from my place of power? Can I use power, which is will, manipulation, cleverness, stalwartness, frankness? Can I use that same asset to catapult myself into a greater realm? And indeed, am I willing to leave behind the world's men who are brought up in the nursery of the world? And can I leave it behind and perhaps on my way find a companion or find not a companion? That is what the mastery of women is all about. Women need to understand that they are not less than men, and that they should never be property of men, and indeed that they should not feel that the only thing that is good about them is their uterus or their bosom or their buttocks, and that to think that is not to love yourself. I want you to know that. If you are endeavoring to live for the affections of a man by the way you look, then you are already dead and have never wakened up, because men traditionally live from their first seal.